Hey guys, it's me, and today I'm here with my June mid-month wrap-up. Yes, we're doing mid-month wrap-ups again. First of all, some unnecessary explanations. I have my fan on, it's really hot, shouldn't be this hot, generally, but it is, so I'm sorry for the background noise. That's all the unnecessary announcement. So, let's actually start talking about what I'm here for, the mid-month wrap-up. First of all, I have already read 9 books this month, which is insane, especially considering that during the month of May I had such struggles with reading that now it's going so fluently. It's the best. Let's just begin. Timestamps are in the description box down below, so if you just want to hear about one particular book, check out that. The first book I read in the month of June, which actually finished this in the month of June. I read most of it in May, but I just didn't get around to finish it until June. Oh well, it's Library of Souls by Ransom. It is the 3rd book in the Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children series. This series follows Jacob, whose grandfather has always told him like these stories about this orphanage in Wales, and which was full of like peculiar children who all had like superpowers, and the grandfather also had a superpower. And as Jacob grows older, he starts to believe in these stories less and less, and he just starts seeing that as a way his grandfather dealt with the trauma of being in a war. Until one day his grandfather dies and Jacob is on the seal, and he vividly remembers these monsters, but the official ruling is that his grandfather was killed by wild dogs, and he just doesn't believe that. He genuinely believes these monsters killed him. And while cleaning his grandfather's home, he finds little clues that lead to where the orphanage is situated exactly, and he manages to convince his father to go with him to this tiny island, and so he can search the orphanage, maybe find people who used to live there, and kind of reconnect with his grandfather and that part of his grandfather's history. But instead, he ends up finding that all those stories his grandfather told him were real. This is the 3rd book in the series, which is the original series enders, but then 3 books got added on. And now, having read this ending, I'm like, how did we not immediately think there was gonna be more? Because this book literally ends where the 4th one begins. Like, literally. So I don't know why we ever thought this was gonna be done. This was a reread what I did in the month of May. I have a lot of books I want to reread, and I find it hard to motivate myself to reread books because I always feel like it's taken away from reading new books, and I have a lot of TBR books that I still need to read. But I just thought of the system because these chapters are long. Like, this is a big book, and I think it's like 11 chapters, so I decided to read like a chapter for every time that I finished a book, and I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. Originally this was a 5-star. Definitely don't agree with that. I think this book, for like the first half, very much just like dragged on and not like a whole lot was happening. I thought that the characters were kind of annoying in this book, especially Emma. I hated Emma so much in this book, and later I read like reviews on book 4, and people say like, why is Emma so annoying in this book? It's so out of character. I'm like, no, she was annoying in this one as well. I feel like everything was just like dragged out a lot and not really that interesting. I think whatever has always kept me entertained during like slower moments in the books is just like the whole group dynamic, which we don't really have in this book, for reasons I can't say because spoilers. But we don't really have like this big group dynamic that we have in like the previous 2 books, and I feel like that maybe took away from like my enjoyment doing those slower parts. Oh look, now I have a place to put the books. Then the next book I read in the month of June is The Mall by McCafferty. This is a galley I got from NetGalley, and I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This book is about a girl who, at like the beginning of this book, she just recovered from having mono, I believe. I don't remember, but like really bad illness. And it's about her, I believe the summer before summer year, and at the beginning of the summer she finds out that her boyfriend has cheated on her in like the meantime that she was sick, that she lost her job, the summer job, because of that. A lot of things are going on, and she's always had like the future with her boyfriend like completely planned out and everything, and now it all just seems to go to shit. And she finds a job at this clothing store as like a bookkeeper, and her ex-best friend, like her mother owns the ex-best friend's mother owns the place, and her ex-best friend also works there. There's also just like a rumor that there's like treasure hidden in a small somewhere, and the main character and ex-best friend are kind of working together to find that treasure. And I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars because it is very simple and very cliche, and it takes place in the 90s, but I feel like it's the 90s, right? Not the 80s. I don't know. I think it's the 90s. I could be wrong. I wasn't alive in either of those decades. See, I don't think that setting was conveyed very well, besides just like technology like changes, but I don't feel like that setting was like conveyed really well. It might be because I wasn't alive in the 90s, so I don't know, but like I generally don't remember if it's 80s or 90s, so that says a lot. But I just felt like it felt like a very like cliche teen movie from like the early 2000s, late 90s, and that's fun. It's like that in a book form, and I think that was a lot of fun, but it isn't the best. And also just like the mystery aspect of this book reminded me a lot of the World storyline in On My Block, if you know that show. And I love that storyline. I love the show in general, but like that storyline is so good. The next book I read is Spirit Bound by Richelle Mead. This is the 5th book in the Vampire Academy series. So in this world there are 3 types of vampires. One are the Moroi, which are mortal vampires with elemental magic, and they kind of make up like the royalty of this world. And then on number 2, this looks weird. Number 2, we have the Vampires, who are a Moroi human hybrid, and they don't really have powers, but they do get trained to like be guardians to the Moroi, because the 3rd kind of vampires are the Strigoi, which are your typical immortal vampires, bloodthirsty, pretty shitty. And those Strigoi kind of like, they can feed of like humans and vampires, but they get like the most fulfillment, I guess, by feeding off of Moroi. So we have the vampires to protect the Moroi from the Strigoi. Yeah, let me follow Rose, who is a vampire, a guardian in training at the academy, because of course the vampires need to have a school just for themselves, you know? And Rose is best friends with Lisa, who is a Moroi and the last of her bloodline, so important. And 2 years before the start of the 1st book, they ended up running away because Lisa just didn't feel safe at the school anymore, you know. And book 1 starts off, well, the guardians from the school finally catch up to them and get them back to the academy, and you know, those dangerous feelings come back and it's not safe. Did I give this 4 out of 5 stars? I did. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't really like this book. Like, it's still good because I really like the series. I still think it's great, but I didn't like it as much as the other ones because I just feel like the stakes in this were so low. They break into like a prison at one point in this book. And it's supposed to be like this highly guarded prison that nobody's able to get in or get out. Like, it's so tight, and it happens so quickly. Their prison break, let me just say that. It happens so easily and so quickly, and they barely plan anything for it. And I'm just like, what? And I just more instances like that where there's like these big suspenseful moments that are just done so quickly that we just like hyped up like, this is impossible, but we do it in like 2 seconds. As well, there's a trope in this book which I can't say at all because that's a massive spoiler for the series, but I don't like the trope, and I haven't never seen it done in a way that I do like, because I do think like every trope can be done well, but this is just one I've never seen done well. And I thought maybe this would be the one because I do think it plays for tropes pretty well, the series, but no. The only thing I liked a lot about this book is that it does take place in court, so in the royal court for a big chunk of it, and I thought that was very interesting. I love books about royalty, like fantasy books about royalty that deals with like royal intrigue and like court intrigue and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that this did that a lot more than it usually does. It also involves more like politics than other books, and I just think that's very interesting, especially in this world, because I think the world aspect, like the world building aspect of this, is always the most interesting to me. The next book I read is The Sullivan Sisters by Kathryn Ormsbee, which is another gal I got from that galley, and I give 2 out of 5 stars. This book is about 3 sisters who used to be like super close, but as they grow older, they grew apart and like are almost constantly fighting, you know, until one day the oldest sibling gets a letter from a lawyer saying they inherited a house, like all three of the sisters inherited a house from their uncle. But the problem is they don't have an uncle, or at least they've never been told that they have an uncle. The oldest sibling decides to go check out this house, see what's going on. Sister just kind of like tag along. They get involved in like this murder mystery thing, which I clearly remember the synopsis not really saying what it is. I'm also not gonna say it. And mostly it's about the sisters reconnecting and developing as humans, you know. That's where my problems mainly came in with this story, because I do think like the mystery was very predictable. Like I maybe not exactly knew what was going on, but I kind of figured it out pretty soon. It's also the mystery is very much to the back burner of everything. It's kind of just like a more like a way to have like a little plot in. But my main problem with this book is that I didn't care about 2 out of 3 sisters. And then the sister I did care about got the least amount of like page time, I feel like. The book kind of pushes them more to the background in order to tell the story of her 2 sisters more and talk about their relationship more. The other 2 siblings, I didn't like. The oldest sibling, I don't know, I didn't connect to her. There was nothing necessarily wrong with her. She was a little bit judgmental of the middle sister. I feel like she's a very cliche character and one that's built on before many of times. And then the middle sibling I hated. She got on my nerves so much. She is so judgmental, very holier than thou, which I hate those characters so much. Yeah, I feel it hard to like care about something when I don't care about like the characters at all, especially when a book is mostly about their development. So I didn't really like this book that much. And then the next book I read is Last Sacrifice by Richelle Mead, which is the last book in Vampire Academy series. I'm not going to tell you this is about just that, but I finally finished the series. I've been saying this for like a couple of months and I would try to finish the series in that month. I haven't been able to do it. I did it. I gave this 1 of 5 stars, though I thought it was a bit disappointing, though it's the rest of the series. Even though like the wrap up is very satisfying, very predictable, but pretty satisfying. So I do like where every character ended up, at least the ones that are like dull, because some characters are going to be carried over to the Bloodline series, which I'm so excited about. I read the synopsis about Bloodlines, I was like, oh my god, this sounds so good! So like for a finale, it did feel like it wrapped up everything nicely that needed to be wrapped up, but also left those little clues for the Bloodline series. There were a couple of elements to this book. There's one runaway storyline which I didn't care for much, but also didn't hate, because it did help us develop different parts of the world more, and I really liked it. Like I said with the previous book, my favorite parts are where we're developing the world. And then we have a murder mystery plotline, which I hated. I think it wasn't done well, mainly because I feel like there were no breadcrumbs. That's always my thing with mysteries. I need to have little clues throughout the story, that even though I don't immediately pick up on those and can predict what's going on, I do want to be able to like have the reveal and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But before the character do the whole explanation, you know, just immediately drop another name and be like, oh yeah, I was dumb to not see that, you know. I like those, but this didn't leave those little clues. And then did the name reveal, I was like, what? And then they gave a whole explanation and I was like, okay, that you could have told us about those things like a little bit, like drop in those hints. Then there is a royal storyline. I'm not gonna put in details because that would be weird, but it was like a royal court intrigue storyline. I thought that was so interesting, but we didn't really spend that much time with it. So the next book is I Killed Zoe Spanos by Kathryn, which I love on Twitter for stars. It's another gallery I got from that gallery. This book is, oh god, this is hard to explain. Okay, hi, editing me here because I explained this book very crappily. So basically we know that on the 1st of January Zoe Spanos went missing, and then we follow 2 timelines. One that is like the beginning of summer and follows Anna, who kind of lived like a party girl lifestyle and is kind of tired of it and wants to start anew. So the summer before she goes off to college, and she decides to take a job on like this island and to be like a nanny for like this one kid. And then she finds out that Zoe Spanos went missing and that she actually looks a lot like her, and she becomes very intrigued with what really happened to this girl. And we follow a second storyline, which is the end of summer, where Anna has confessed to accidentally killing Zoe on New Year's Eve. But then more stuff starts to come out about what happened, and more holes get poked into Anna's stories. And we follow another character whose name I forgot, I'm so sorry, and she is trying to find out what really happened and bring justice to the real killer of Zoe. My problem with this book is that at the beginning I was very confused about what was going on. I just couldn't tell at all. It took me a long time to figure shit out, like too long, and I think a big part of that is a lack of character development besides Anna and then the other girl whose name I forgot. I'm so sorry, I'm terrible with names. I feel like none of the characters really got developed besides those two main characters, so it just was hard to keep track of things and motivations and stuff. And yeah, it took me a while to get like orientated in this book and like figure out what was going on, when and where and who's who, and that took me out of the story for like the first part of it. But then there was like the second half, I did really get into it and I started to enjoy it, and I was really curious about what happened, and then the mystery, and then the reveal happened, and no breadcrumbs. Then the next book I read is another reread, and that's A Map of Days by Ransom, which is the fourth book in Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children series. Like I said, I already explained the series, but this is another reread. For this one had more chapters, so I did, for every book that I finished, I would read 100 pages of this, and I really like the system. I think I'm gonna continue that for rereads because it's what I really enjoyed having that system going on. Give this 5 stars. I love this so much. It's my favorite in the series, and at first I was a little bit scared because the beginning was a bit slow, and I was like, this feels more like a 4-star. But then like the second half picks up so much, and I'm just like, oh my god, the first half was so worth it. We need to have like a slower build up and like to get a small understanding of like this world, because we are in America now, not in England. So, and there's a lot of differences between the American peculiar world and the European peculiar world. And really at the beginning it was a little bit slower to show like the contrast between everything and see how these characters have grown up, because these characters have grown up a lot. Of course, they went through terrible shit throughout the original trilogy. I needed that little build that was maybe a little bit slower on plot, but so the second half feels that more impactful, and you get every character's motivation for every single thing that they do, and you understand why certain things are higher stakes now than what they would have been in the previous trilogy. Then like the last 100 pages are like so fast moving and it's so quick, and everything just feels like a rush, and ugh, I love this a lot. And then I got a bit of a reading slump situation, and I have it here. I started the Conference of Birds immediately after finishing A Map of Days. I got 114 pages in. This is how far I'm in. So I went to the hairdressers, as you might be able to tell because my hair looks different, and I wanted to bring a book, but I'm annotating this book. That's a hassle to bring it and annotation supplies, while studying like to share with like paint, hair dye, twine. I don't know why I said paint, but oh well. So I bought my iPad to read ebooks, and I started. This is My America by Kim Johnson, which I ended up finishing, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. It's so good. The gallery got from that gallery. Don't know if I said that, but this book is about a girl who 7 years ago her father got convicted for murder, which he didn't do. He's an innocent man, but he was put on death row because already got a death sentence. And now at the beginning of the book, we're about like 9 months before he gets executed, and 27 years my character has been writing letters to this organization that basically works to get innocent people out of jail, you know. So she's been writing to this organization to take on her father's case. And the beginning of the book, our main character's brother gets like an interview on television a little while after they also end up putting out an arrest for her brother because a girl died from like the high school, was murdered, and it's highly suspicious. It's highly suspect her brother to have done that, and the brother ends up going on the win because he saw what happened to his father. Even though like he's innocent, he doesn't believe that he is able to get out of this trial. And we follow the main character as she is trying to uncover what really happened to this girl, and also trying to get her father out of jail. This was on my list of books to read this month for a while. I requested this book back in March. This has been my plan to read this month for a very long time, and it just happened to be the most topical book to be able to read at this moment, because damn, it deals a lot with police brutality and white supremacy as well. And this was such a good read. I highly recommend it because I think it's so well written. I feel like the story came to life before my eyes, which I know is because it's very grounded in reality. But everything just felt so real. The characters were so well developed, and I could feel their emotions and their pain and their anger. And it was all just right. We had a very headstrong character who fought for what she believed in, which I love. There's some amazing family dynamics in this book. There are some great friendships in this book as well, and it's fantastic. Read it. And the next book I read is Being Toffee by Sarah Crossan, because I just wanted to read something quick, and I remembered this was on my list of galleys I needed to read this month, and it's sold in verse, so that usually goes by quickly. Gave it 2 out of 5 stars though, so I probably shouldn't have done that. This book is about a girl who has been abused by her father all of her life, and finally she decides to run away. And at one point in her life, like, this woman, like, her father dated this woman, and that woman lived with them and stuff like that. Pretty serious relationship, until like the father also started abusing her, and like she ended up running away, and she wanted to take the main character with her, but like the main character didn't want to leave her father. So now when she's running away, she's going to the place where she thinks this woman is, based on like past communication they had. But she finds out that that woman isn't there anymore, and she actually stumbles across this old lady who has dementia, and thinks that the main character actually is like her best friend when she was way younger. I didn't connect to the story at all. I think the characters were very one-dimensional. There was no plot. I was gonna say the storyline was boring. There was no plot really. It was very confusing as hell because it jumped between. Because basically we have that she ends up becoming friends with like a girl that lives in this town as well, and then there's a lot of flashback to her father's abuse. And all of those just felt jumbled. And there were some jumps to the flashbacks that felt logical, but overall it all felt jumbled, and like it didn't really make sense. And I had to orientate myself a lot throughout this book, like, oh, where are we? Who are we with? What are we doing? It just, no, and just a lot of things just didn't make sense in my way when it comes to her relationship with the old lady, and like interactions they had and stuff they did. I'm just like, that doesn't make sense how those things could happen and don't have repercussions. That was it for this video. If you read any of these books, let me know in the comment section down below, and as well as let me know some of the books you read already this month. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?